You're listening to the No Code Hustle, where we speak with founders, builders, and makers who are creating the next generation of tech products. I'm your host, Eric Israni. Welcome, everyone. I'm here with Joe from Nucode, and we're going to take a little time to talk about his platform, his community, and how he's been building the whole thing in Bubble. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. So let's start with the first question I always have for people. How did you get into no-code tools, and what brought you to Bubble?
Yeah. So about I would say 10 months ago is when I started building Nucode. We started off with Bubble, and they're still on Bubble, but no-code specifically, I've been building stuff since college, building anything from a Shopify store to WordPress websites. My first no-code project was probably our outfitter shop. We sold hand-painted canoes, kayaks, axes, whatever you could think of, on a Shopify store, and just either drop ship stuff to people or painted axes ourselves, created pins and all that type of stuff. Kind of gradually got into tools like Webflow for building just general marketing sites, and then got into Bubble, which is very feature-rich. And so I think the first time I used Bubble, I created an internal tool for a hotel group that I was working for. So we were able to manage hotels, employees, all that type of stuff in one single tool for that. And they were a management company, so that made everything a lot easier. But about 10 months ago is when I started digging into Bubble a little bit more, built out Nucode version 1, which was essentially the product hunt of no-code projects. And just collecting what tools each project was built with. And then version 2 kind of looked like Twitter, a little bit more community focused and forum focused. And then version 2, which was designed by Alan Podemsky, our now product designer, looks insane. He did a great job. And that's our version 2.2. And it's still going strong in Bubble.
Great.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. And before this, you mentioned that you were working with a hotel group and stuff. Were you a designer? Were you a developer? Did you have a tech background?
No. I was, with my experience from building my own e-commerce shop, I started working as an e-commerce coordinator for a couple different small businesses in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then after that, I got a job at Weingarten and Hammond's Hotel Group. I managed about 20 hotels or so, including a couple that were here in downtown Cincinnati. And so I just started, using that e-commerce experience and kind of building stuff, no design or development experience whatsoever. Just dug into, I think having a curiosity for apps and just tech in general kind of lends itself well to building in Bubble and Webflow and all these other tools. So it made it really easy, to be honest.
Yeah, you definitely have an eye for it. I see apps, all day. I get to meet with a lot of founders and a lot of people who are prospective founders. And having not come from that background, you really put together something beautiful, as we'll see in a little bit.
Yeah, I got to give that up to Alan, though. Our version 2 looked better. It kind of looked like Twitter. We took a lot of inspiration from that. But to be honest, that was all Alan. I think having a designer on our team was critical. We could get 50% of the way there to a good looking app. But it was good to have somebody with an actual eye like Alan on board.
Yeah. I thank our designer every day for his help.
I bet.
Thank you. I know it's ugly. I appreciate your help. Please make this beautiful. Make it on brand so I can share it with our users.
Yeah. You got to.
Yeah, the real MVP of the team.
For real.
And so tell me a little bit more about Nucode. What is it, and how did you come up with this idea?
So Nucode is a no-code maker community, maker and expert. Now we have we have different roles in Nucode now for both makers and experts that want to teach other people how to use various tools. But I originally, again, had built Nucode as the product hunt of no-code. I just wanted to see what was possible to be built without code. And so Nucode originally was like just a straight up list of projects, and then each project had a page where it would tell like what tools it was built with like Stripe and Google Sheets and table like sheet to site and stuff like that, and those other smaller tools. And then we started to like curate. So in the beginning, I started curating like 300 or 400 projects probably, and actually asked other makers to submit what they had available. And so that was kind of like an inspiration point. I just wanted to create something as a reference for people to like look at and see what was possible, and to inspire them to like go out and build, whatever they want without code. And then since I had been building for the last 4 or 5 years without code, like different apps within Shopify and WooCommerce and Webflow and Bubble, I think the idea was just to inspire other people. So that's kind of where the idea came from, but it's kind of evolved into a forum because I wanted to make it a little bit more community focused. I think inspiring people is great, but like having a place to actually discuss, like learn and build with other people was important. So that's why we had to keep executing on the idea and kind of level it up.
Can you tell me a little more about the breakdown between the expert and the maker? How many people come on the platform and are brand new and just, they're nothing more than an idea and a burning desire to get it done, versus people who are, kind of like yourself. They have a little bit of a background in the way to approach it, to think about it, and now they're just looking for the right tool.
Yeah. To be honest, like when people sign up on Nucode, they automatically get that maker tag. I think makers and entrepreneurs and people that have ideas are just kind of hidden in plain sight. Like they have an idea, but they just don't know how to build it. They might come to Nucode like as a cold lead, whatever you want to call them. But they are absolutely a maker. And if they have an idea, we can help them build it without code. So the difference between those two is like, we've got anybody that signs up to Nucode as a maker. And then we've actually got our expert network. And that's just people that we kind of vet personally. We check out their work, get on a call with them, whatever we need to make sure that they're the right fit to actually provide like expert support for other people. Right now they can, soon they'll actually be able to like add their own like content to Nucode, like tutorials and stuff like that. Besides the forum, they'll actually be able to add like expert content. And then they can also like book like one-on-one coaching and that type of stuff for people. So we want to make sure that like they are an expert in a specific tool to be able to provide that kind of coaching for people.
And so is this a growing piece of the business? Is this a growing piece of the community? Is having these people step up as experts and start coaching the new converts to the movement?
Yeah. Well, like you dive into some of these bigger tools, you'll have like the smaller tools like Glide Apps and Adalo and all these other like mobile and web app builders and stuff. And then you get into like Bubble and Webflow and like Builder and some of these bigger feature rich tools. And to be honest, like the best part about no code is you can dive in within an hour and like build something significant. But when you get into these bigger feature rich tools, you need to have somebody that's going to be able to answer some questions for you immediately. And that's kind of like the idea behind it. We want to be able to like provide support immediately when somebody needs it. I know there's always tons of forums and stuff that are always active, and that's what we're trying to make with Nucode, and just kind of collect those experts into a singular place. I think there's a difference between like being a generalist for multiple tools and being an expert in like one or just a few tools, which I think is important. So we're trying to collect as many of those people and gather as many of those people together to be able to teach other folks how to build without code.
It sounds like they're right now they're more coaches, more like teaching people how to get up to speed. And do you see that being a continuation of people's learning, or do you see them eventually getting hired out as agencies and taking over for these entrepreneurs?
Oh, definitely. So we like, in my very biased opinion, since we started small.co, spelled SMAAL.co, in my biased opinion, I think there's definitely going to be an entire market, niche market created around no code experts and people that build without code and are able to like provide an app to a client for 1/10 of the price, only because of the amount of time and like the speed to build it takes to create something without code. So I think there's going to be an entire market around it. On Nucode, we actually allow you to like submit a project to an expert. So you can send messages for a specific project with a certain budget and that type of stuff to an expert. So I think that's going to be huge. Yeah. Besides one-on-one coaching, like helping other people build without code is super important. And I think there's always going to be people that, like any other agency, there's going to be people that don't want to get their hands dirty because that's not necessarily the part of the business that they need to handle, right? You might have like this foster care agency app we're creating. Those people don't necessarily need to worry about building an app. We're going to build it for them. Whereas somebody that is building, if somebody built Nucode again, they would be focusing on the app side of things, and they would definitely want to build it themselves.
Yeah, I get people come to me all the time when I suggest that they try Bubble.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, so you're going to build it for me, right? That's
no way.
That's not what I do.
You got a maker inside you.
Yeah, but there are people out there like these experts that you're helping to curate who will do that for you. And I think you're absolutely right. People have these skill sets. They have these skill sets that prepare them to run a business, that help them take advantage of this idea.
Yeah.
And it needs a tech component, and they're just trying to figure out the best way to get that done.
Yeah, exactly.
And hiring a developer in another country for 5 and 6 figures isn't always the best answer.
No, not at all. Like if you can build an app for a couple grand instead of $100,000, like there's no reason not to test it. You're going to get to the same endpoint, and that's whether people like it or not. And it's either going to cost you $100,000 or it's going to cost you a couple grand.
Yeah. I read recently that the average MVP, a scalable MVP, something that you could actually scale up, costs you $30,000.
$30,000? Where did you read that?
That's an idea. I'll send you the link. I went hunting. Because like, well, what are people spending on their MVPs? If you can't build it yourself, what are the alternatives? How much are you going to spend for something you can scale? Not necessarily tear down, right? Like, not just like a form to collect emails and stuff for people, but like something that you have one solid feature and you can build.
Yeah.
And this guy was saying $30,000, and I don't doubt it. I don't. I asked around. I asked some of my developer friends, like, how much would you charge for something like that? Like, about some basic projects, and they're like, you could easily get up that high if you even get what you want. You could scope it out all you want, and you still might not get.
Yeah, it's really rough. Like I had worked at a couple different companies in the past where we would have agencies quoting us like 30 or 40 grand for what was essentially like some type of content-based site. It literally just had lists of things, of content pieces that were just blog posts with videos embedded in them. And they quoted 30 or 40 grand. That would take anybody in the Nucode community, like a couple hours at most to create for them. Could be even custom for them. Like you could build in a bubble and just create a fully custom experience for them. It's insane. Yeah. I like to throw out that like 1/10 of the cost of a regular development team, but most of the time it's less than that.
Yeah. And it's not even just the monetary cost. It's also the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
All that time, all that energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And firms like that who don't even know this is coming yet don't know enough to be afraid.
Yeah. I think they're just kind of learning what's possible, right? They're checking out some of these smaller projects that are being built and don't realize that like their larger projects and client projects could be built without code. They could be utilizing one person's time instead of 20, and building it in a month instead of 6 months.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost is insane.
I've spoken with a couple of 6- and 7-figure businesses since I've taken this job, all built without code.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just the idea, right? If your idea is solid, the actual tech stack in the background doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter nearly as much as getting that product market fit down.
Yeah.
And having a large enough addressable market.
Yeah. And the users don't care. And the users don't even know if it's coded or not. Like who cares at all? If I can put out a product that sees a little bit of traction after a week, like I'm going to do that versus like trying to find a team to build it for me and waste 6 months and then realize nobody likes it.
Yeah. And now you've burned all these bridges trying to convince
Yeah.
people to work for you for what?
For what, equity and a
Yeah.
little bit of money probably.
Yeah. So talking about these people who are getting involved in no code, let's take a look at what you're building. Let's take a look at Nucode,
Yeah.
the community, and let's show everyone just how good looking it really is.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get in here.
Hey, there it is.
All right, you able to see that? All right, cool. So this is the homepage of Nucode. This is where people end up. I am currently logged in here. And so this is, you might see some stuff that is not launched yet technically, that only Nucode member or Nucode admins can see, like myself and Alan. But so the homepage feature I think is awesome. It's technically our forum. We get this question a lot because there's tools like Webflow and the combinations of tools like Webflow and MemberStack that people try to build like threaded forums inside of, and it's really tough and it's not really manageable. This homepage was designed by Alan. We used quite a few different plugins, and actually, I think just maybe one plugin on the whole page. The rest of it is just dynamically generated by Bubble, depending on what we want to show them. So first up, we've got like discussions, and these are just all the forum posts possible. So it starts off with like a special trigger that just makes sure that all posts are shown when they visit the site. People can filter through like questions, they can filter through tutorials, they can filter through showcases. So if anybody wants feedback on a project or anything like that, they can just post it in the showcase and show off what they're building and making. And then we've also got stories. So these are people that have built something cool or maybe have a story to tell about no code in general, and they can check those out. You can also, yeah.
Yeah, just for people who are listening and not necessarily watching, the homepage, if they want to check it out, is nucode.co, nucode.co. And we're on the homepage right now. We're just going through the tabs at the top. And so it's one page. You explain to me what's going on here. Every time you click a new tab, it's a new filter on the same repeating group.
Yeah. So you can, what we did was we created a repeating group of buttons. And so each button technically has its own type of post. And for each click on each repeating group cell of type post, we just change it. So if a certain post's type is questions and we click questions, it actually then just shows that list of posts that are questions, and vice versa for tutorials and showcase and stories. So
very clever, very smart. And I love the fact that the pin post at the top is from you.
Yeah. So we actually built that feature in too. So in our Bubble database, all we did was just added one checkbox for pinned post to post types. And so now anytime we have a new pinned post that we want to add, and we can add multiple pinned posts, our repeating group will actually sort first based on whether it's pinned or not. And then it will show everything else and sort by however you're sorting.
Very cool. It feels very like early internet days, right?
Yeah.
Tom is everyone's friend.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're about to change that welcome to Nucode to like an introduction type of pinned post. So we'll let people like introduce themselves and like submit a link and stuff for what else they're working on, which would be kind of fun. And then as far as like other features, like on those, we actually have this repeating group that took us a little while. So on each individual post, we wanted to show how many comments there were in each post. And so we have a count of comments, of course. That's just standard. Like we actually have two separate fields in Bubble for that, so that we don't have to technically calculate and count a list every time, just for speed improvements. We have one field that auto updates every time a new comment is posted, and that's just to make sure the count of comments on that post is up to date. And then we have a list field, and that list is just a list of comments on that post. And then this list, I think it's the list, it's some type of list plugin. I forget the name, but basically it will take all unique commenters. So not just every commenter or each individual commenter, but it takes all unique comments. So even if I submit 3 comments, it's not going to show my profile picture in that little repeating group multiple times. And then we also have with that, it's actually a list shifter plugin. So with that list shifter plugin, other than just showing a profile picture for all the commenters, we also have a group that only shows on the 4th repeating group cell, and that shows you what the count of other commenters there are. So it's very easy to get a little clever with repeating groups to show things that you would normally see in other apps that technically shouldn't be able to be built without code, but is possible. So I think there's some walls that you can definitely get around when you're designing, especially in Bubble. I think a lot of people can get to 99% of like a one-to-one match from like a Figma file or a sketch file to a Bubble app, as long as you know how to like work the different components and plugins if needed. Is there anything like anything else on this page that you?
Yeah, so this is great. I mean, I'm noticing that one, I really like the fact that you have these little profile pictures, kind of like coins on the to the right of each post with the full count. It's, you know, right now the top one has 3 profile pictures and then a circle with plus 20. So there's 20 comments in addition to those 3 that are on this post, which is really cool. I also noticed that within the repeating group, whenever you hover over anything, it changes color. You highlight what it is that you might click on.
Yeah, so we wanted to make it really easy for people to know like what they're about to click on. So we have separate links actually on the post title, and then a separate one for the maker or the creator of that post, so that if they click that, it goes to their profile instead of the post, and then one on the comments. So funny enough, if you click, like if it says 20 comments on that post and you click 20 comments, it's gonna actually take you to the post page if you click on comments, but then automatically scroll down to the comments.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then a quick side note.
Yeah.
On the side of this homepage, there's a list of most active members.
Yeah.
And so you're at the top right now. And is that something that you really work hard at keeping?
Yeah, no, not really. Like you'll see 14 posts there. Like I've actually enjoyed just engaging with other people that have been posting. I'm trying to see like what's the max percentage of people I can get to actually post after they join, to see if we can get that as close to like 100%. I want anybody to ask a question, post a story, or show off a project. So I've purposefully not been posting on our own forum for a little bit, only because like we've gotten to a stage where we've got multiple people posting per day, which makes it a little bit easier for me to not have to like curate content to bring people into. They're actually asking questions and showing off their projects themselves. But also looking forward to other people like taking over that slot. I don't even want to be on that.
And so can you tell me a little bit about the logic behind it? Is it simply a count of posts, or is it within a certain time period? How do you figure out that logic?
Right now it is simply just like a count of posts. We're actually going to change that most likely to like a monthly active member type thing pretty soon. And that'll be like top posters of the month or something. It'll still say most active members, but it'll be sorted based on like how many people have posted within the last 30 days, which again is super easy in Bubble to do. You just count up posts that have a creation date of more than 30 days ago.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And then you've also been developing a bit of a learning section of the site as well, right?
Yeah. So now we'll take a look at Nucode Learn now. And so Learn is similar in like a structure on the front page as the community page with the forum, but it's a list of lesson videos. And on each lesson, right now we have just lessons separated because a lot of people may just want to jump into like one specific lesson about Bubble, about a specific feature or something, and then jump into a different lesson. But on each lesson, we actually show like the count of videos in that course, technically. When you add videos or video lessons and courses to Nucode, it takes like the combo of those lessons and creates a course out of it, and then just gives people a heads up about how many videos are in that. Soon we'll have like a minutes option, so people can like let us know how long or we'll automatically pull that from like YouTube or something to give them like how long it might take them to kind of go through those lessons. And then we've also got a rating system on each lesson, which is really easy. Bubble, I think, has, I think we're using your guys' native rating plugin, and that actually allows us to add a star rating system to lessons. I think most of this is pretty similar to the form page, so I'm going to go ahead and take us to a specific lesson page.
Okay. So while we're navigating, I remember your first version of this.
Yeah.
And in a very short period of time, this is one of the things I do love about following the no-code projects that people are working on. In literally weeks, you went from something that you launched and you were filling with content that was just something like you just shipped it, you got it out and you started sharing it, to something that is organized and beautiful in literally weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think honestly this would have taken a team of like 4 or 5 developers probably at least 5 months to build.
And you remember you telling me, like, give me a couple days, I want to get this next thing out.
Yeah.
a couple days, that's all you need. Like we can plan around you. And he's like, nope, I'll be done in a couple days.
Yeah, we just had a client meeting today with a group of like 5 people. They were just giving us feedback on our like MVP app and stuff like that. And we told them we'd get back to them with all of the additional feedback and features lists built in a few days, and they were astounded, to be honest.
That kind of wow that you get out of your clientele is gonna be huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, it's way different than waiting weeks or months. Yeah, I mean, like especially just to get like a proposal back. A lot of people are used to like 3 to 4 weeks to get a proposal, and then another 6 to 8 months, if not more, to build whatever they're building.
And in 3 to 4 weeks, you could have it finished.
Yeah.
If you have a clickable prototype by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, all right, well, let's get to work. Let's finish this.
Let's iron these bugs out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you'll have 6 to 8 months of like working with a client on a finished product and features, as opposed to still trying to get out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I can't imagine like charging a full dev team's price. I'd just be on vacation like for 6 months out of the year if I could just build 2 no-code projects and make it that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on a single lesson page. This lesson is how to make a space shooter video game with BuildBox, which I love for building video games. And on the left, you'll actually see we actually embed YouTube videos for these, and we actually have the YouTube plugin from Bubble. And honestly, when people upload a video or a course to Nucode, all they have to do is put in the YouTube video ID, and then we automatically pull in and embed that video, thanks to you guys, just straight up in the lesson pages.
Great.
So on the left, we've got the video, of course, and then on the right side, we've also got like the other videos in that course. It's a scrollable repeating group with a picture of the tool logo that is in that lesson. You can have multiple tools in a lesson on Nucode, but we generally just choose the first one. That's pretty typical. And then we have titles and like a count, so that people can see like what video, what number video that is in the list. And then down below, actually, do you have any questions about that part?
Yeah, I'm looking up and I see that you have the same navigation at the top, which I assume is a reusable element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a floating group, a reusable floating group. We have a stacked one. A lot of people will actually create a single bar that's maybe like 50 pixels, 60 pixels, whatever, and then they'll hide and like show 4 different or 2 different like nav bars, depending on if it's mobile or desktop, and whether people are logged in or logged out or something. But just to make it a little bit easier for us in the editor, we actually create like a floating group, and then have 4 different nav bars that are based on mobile and desktop, and then based on logged in or logged out. It just makes it way easier to edit instead of like going over to the tree branch and like hiding things whenever we want to change something. That's as far as a development tip in Bubble. We always just hide things as a conditional, and then just keep it shown in the editor so that we can play around with it whenever.
That also increases the speed of the app. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think we could get away with a little bit of a speed improvement if we were to show maybe like we actually have nested repeating groups and like groups inside of this header. I think we could get away with a speed improvement if we were to separate it out. But as far as development speed, it definitely helps. As far as like page load speed, I think it's probably null. It's probably almost null. So,
And then in the video selection, so on the right side of the video you have in the middle of the screen, great. So if you click on any of these, they will update the YouTube video in this main player.
Yeah, what I love about Bubble right now is like when you have a repeating group and you're on a dynamic page. So this lesson page is a dynamic page whose data type is a lesson. Whenever we have a repeating group on that page to show like other items, like other lessons on that page, when you click lesson, we actually have a workflow that just runs to change, like go to that new lessons page. But since it's the same page technically and it's just loading different data, it's instant, which is amazing, to be fair, for UX. So it's actually not auto, it's technically just auto updating the info on the page instead of having to like move to a different page because it's technically the same page.
So it pulls down that data when we first load, it knows what to expect, and now you're telling it what to display.
Yeah. And when you do click on, like if you have at the top of this repeating group, like you'll see in YouTube when you scroll down like a list of videos in a course or something, when you click on one, it'll scroll it to the top. And that's kind of what we do here in that workflow. Whenever you click a new lesson, we scroll to the top of that repeating group. So we might be on like lesson 1 or something, but if we go down to lesson 7 and lesson 1 is out of view, we might scroll to like 3. And then it'll, again, populate that lesson. And it also scrolls to the top of the page so that in case people are like scrolling down and then clicking the top corner or something to get a video, it just scrolls to the top of the page.
Very cool. Interesting.
And then down here, you'll notice actually we've got this how would you rate this lesson area. And this is, again, using that Bubble star rating plugin. We've got 0 votes on this specific lesson. So it's 0 stars, obviously, because there's nothing there to rate. We have a calculation on the back end. So anytime somebody rates a lesson, it obviously takes, it kind of calculates the average for votes and that type of stuff on the back end. But on the front end, all people are doing is seeing a lesson that they haven't voted on, and people can only vote on a lesson 1 time. Right now, we don't currently let them edit their vote, maybe later, but for now, it's just like you rate it once and that's it. So you can click like 5 stars or 4 stars. I've personally watched Zach's videos about how to build a space shooter video game in BuildBox multiple times. So I'm going to go ahead and rate that 5. So when I choose the 5-star rating, it doesn't automatically submit because that could cause some problems with user experience. If they're on mobile, they might click 5 stars. Maybe they mean 4 stars, or click 4 and they mean 5. So as a fallback, we have a submit button. So when they click 5 stars, then they hit submit. And then it automatically gets rid of that group to vote, and then it just kind of shows them the vote. Here, we can't take an average, so the star rating plugin doesn't show 5 stars, but after the second vote, it'll show a certain amount of stars based on the average of those 2.
Yeah, you can't go back and change it in case you get mad at Zachary.
No, you can't go back and change it if you get mad at Zach, but if you accidentally rate them low, we'll definitely change it to 5 stars if we need to for them. And then we've also got these lists on the side of like the lesson pages. So other videos from this author. If somebody's like if we've got an expert or really anybody that's building a bunch of tutorials for like BuildBox and Bubble and that type of stuff, like multiple tools maybe, we would just want to show off other videos that maker has created. And so we actually have a repeating group, and this is a reusable element, this whole thing, that will actually only show videos that do not include the current page's unique IDs video, so that it doesn't show like the same video on that page as another video for them to watch.
So this is the reusable element that is a repeating group, and it has a pre-built filter for that page's video.
Yep. So it checks the current page's URL, and then makes sure that it is not the same video. and it kind of filters that out. So when we do a search for, and then we choose like unique ID and then is not current page's URL, unique ID. Yeah.
And below that, you have another repeating group, another small repeating group that says similar no-code videos.
Yeah, so we don't have any other like game. So we have different like types for different tools. BuildBox is a game type tool, but we don't necessarily have any other game tools technically on Nucode yet. So right now we're just kind of showing other similar videos, but you'll notice like a lot of times you'll see similar no-code videos as if you see like a bubble video, you might see like other bubble videos from different makers. If you look at like a Glide Apps video, you might see other like maybe a Google Sheet tutorial or something like that. So similar tools in that sense.
So you organize it by tool and how they're tagged.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can just, again, filter that out, filter out the current page's lesson, and then make sure that it matches the same type as the current page's lesson or matches the same tool as the current page's lesson.
Great.
Yeah.
Would you be inclined to show us a peek in the editor?
Yeah. Let's see. Man, if people are watching this video, they're going to be angry after they see how many reusable elements and pages we have built into Nucode. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, we've got, I don't know, it's something like 40 different pages, and then we've got obviously tons of reusable elements.
It's always crazy peeking under the hood of someone else's app. Like I spend a lot of my day in Bubble for the different things that I have to do for the job and looking. But every time I look at someone else's app, it's always like a peek into their soul.
Yeah.
Like it's their, like you see their personality come out with the way they organize things, the way they arrange things.
It's kind of like how coders like to talk about other people's code.
Yeah.
And whether it's clean or not, or the way they would do it. It's always really interesting. But so what did you want to take a look at?
Let's go look at the let's look at that video lesson.
Yeah, let's check it out. So let's see. So up here we've got that reusable element. Because I stack them and don't necessarily have like a fixed height on it, it's a little bit taller. Because a floating group is not part of the page, technically I just, it'll collapse on its own, and it will not like move anything up. And then I just kind of place these other elements wherever I want to. So what would you like to take a look at? What's the most interesting on this page?
Yeah, I'm curious as to how you stack all these smaller repeating groups and the workflows you use to identify how you identify like the most similar tools. Let's start with that one all the way at the bottom.
Let's see, let's show that. So this is the reusable element for that, similar no-code videos. I really do hope that I have that set up so that we can see that. So search for lessons. So right now we don't have types. We just have maker is not the current maker, but it's a similar video. The status is live and the maker is not empty. Sometimes we have like edge cases where somebody might like almost fully submit a form and then somehow it doesn't have a maker. So we always check to make sure there's a maker available so that the app looks clean.
Yeah. And so right now we're looking at the reusable element you've created, and we're looking at the property editor for this repeating group in that reusable element. And when we click on the data source, when we put in the dynamic data, where it opens up that new property element that lets us constrain what we're looking for. And so that's what you're talking about right now. So we're looking for similar lessons to this one. And so it has to be a live status you have. I'm guessing that's a property type or
yeah, we have drafts and then a live status for videos. Some people will almost fully submit their lessons, but they don't want to be live because we don't have all the data for them or anything like that. But we do automatically create it so that it can be auto saved when they do first make it. so that if they somehow exit out, they can go back into their own dashboard and just edit that and make it into live without losing it. Like if somebody uploads like 70 videos and then forgets to like save anything, Bubble has allowed us to like auto save all of that for them without having to, and auto create all of that for them without having to like miss anything if they exit out for some reason.
So they can come back and they can decide which ones they want to finish and publish. And okay.
Yep.
And then you have them by descending. So you have it going from the most recent to the oldest.
Yeah. So we always want to have fresh content.
Yeah.
Excuse me, up there. And so if Alan creates like a Bubble tutorial about how to like make a cool UI design in Bubble, we want to show that off first. If another maker like creates a cool thing with like BuildBox or something, we want to show that first, that new video. Also to give new makers some good traction. That always kind of helps. We like having not only a popular area, but a place for new makers to show off some of their work. And so this is kind of like our way to show off that early work from some people.
I love that. Very community minded, giving the new people a chance to shine.
Yeah, exactly. And so another thing that we do within this, you'll notice like there's only one group here in this repeating group, but on the page we have, I'll go back to that lesson page in a different tab. On that lesson page, the reusable elements, and in the live page, we actually show 3 videos.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, so we show 3 videos in the other videos from this author or the similar no-code videos on the sidebar. We have 3 groups there within that repeating group, but we are actually just creating one group within that repeating group in the element, in the reusable element. And when we do a search for lessons, then we choose, we add a little extra parameter there that is items until number 3. And we can choose whatever number of items we want. Like if we wanted to make that list on the lessons page longer for people to see more videos that are similar to that current one, we might choose like 6 or 7 or 8 or something. But for now, it's just 3 and it limits it to that. And then we can always, the scalable part about this is like we can add whatever filters to it that we want. We can increase that list. We can make it based on ratings too. Like we could only show the most highly rated videos if we wanted to. Everything about this is changeable within like 2 minutes. So
yeah, that's great. And honestly, I like the aesthetic of having just the 3. Right?
Yeah,
If it was an infinite amount, it would look real busy and it would be real crazy. But having those 3 similar ones is a good way to keep people engaged and be like, okay, so this is a suggestion of where I should go next.
Yeah, for sure. And also having like all those 3 separate filters and then that like items until number 3 kind of helps our page speed quite a bit because we're filtering out a bunch of stuff that we don't need on page load. And then we're also just showing 3, which helps out quite a bit.
Very cool. No, I like it. And then I guess the only one thing I want to peek at while we're in your editor is what is your favorite thing that you have? Like what are you most proud of building?
Oh my gosh. So honestly,
so many, right?
Yeah, I am not too sure. Like it might be like we've got templates, we've got tools, we've got like maker profiles, which are always fun. So maybe the maker profiles might be, I think like that giving people a voice and letting them show off like their no-code projects and no-code templates and lessons and that type of stuff is really cool. I think that's probably my favorite thing that we've built. The toughest thing we've probably built is our threaded comments on our forum, which not a lot of people really know how to build because it's a repeating group with a nested repeating group inside of it. But as far, so I guess I'll just show you that real quick. Actually. That's a little bit more complicated. That might be something people want to check out.
Repeating group inception,
yeah, basically. And you gotta like, it's just tough because like you have a list of comments, right? But if you're creating a threaded experience, you need to make sure that a comment is not a child comment. Like it's not meant for some type, it's not a reply to something. So you have to make sure that you're like showing and hiding things and filtering out child versus like parent comments. You'll notice here, like at the top, this is our post page. And I'll just show an example of what that looks like live outside of the editor for a second. Go to the welcome to Nucode posts. And so on desktop view, it'll show like obviously the title of the post, forum post, and then the share on Twitter button. You'll have like the maker who posted that, and then you'll have a rich text input. We use the BDK text editor to actually show rich text. People can like embed videos, photos, whatever they want, like format all the text and stuff like that. So that's just kind of how it looks. And then on down at the comments, which is what we're going to take a look at, you'll notice like the threaded comment, child's comments are actually knocked over about like 40 pixels, I think, to the right, and just condensed so that it looks like, I mean, it just, when you look at it, it looks like a thread, which it is. And so eventually we may add some like lines to that to make it a little bit more visible that is a thread. But for right now, it kind of reads itself. So we'll go back to the editor real quick. So we first started with the parent group, and the parent group, essentially we need to make sure that parent group is literally just comments that have no, that are not a reply to something. So in our system, we have, we actually utilize a hidden group. So this is a good tip for anybody. If you have a list of items on a page, especially a dynamic page, you can actually reference that page's data. And so what we do, instead of having to like load different repeating groups for everything, we actually just load one repeating group that is hidden. It's like 1 pixel by 1 pixel. Just place it anywhere on the page. And then anything that you have on that page that needs to reference, you can reference that one list that was loaded instead of having 6 lists all loaded in separate repeating groups. Then any repeating group can just reference that one hidden list. And so we have a search for comments, post equals current pages post, just to make sure that we've filtered out any other comments, as we do have that as a data type in our database. And then we have the repeating group. The parent group is all of our comments that are not replies to something. And what we do is we have our hidden comments lists of comments, but we filter out anything that has comment on what comment is empty. This could even be a checkbox. Yeah, it's very convoluted. It could be a checkbox.
Get into it.
It could just be like is this a reply checkbox in the field? And honestly, it could just be checked or unchecked. And any new child comment you create or is created, you could just have that, is this a reply, checked? And then that would mean it's a child comment. You could also use that as a filter, which is a little bit easier. For now, we're just filtering out the list of comments for this. So the parent group then is just a repeating group of regular comments, not child comments. Then underneath that one comment group we have, because this is a full extending vertical scrolling list, then it just uploads as they scroll down. Then we have one group underneath that parent group that shows current cells comments, list of comments. This one we don't have to filter because the repeating group is technically only loading comments that are on that parent comment. And so no filter needed. We just put it at full list so that while they're scrolling, they still see all of the child comments for that parent comment. I am having a hard time listening to myself saying that.
No, it's great. Sorry, let me jump in and just, and let me say this is, it's very novel. It's interesting. And the fact that you're able to do this and make it look clean and make it look understandable is great. And for the people who aren't watching, I encourage you to jump on the video and take a closer look. The one thing I'll say take away from this as well, this is an excellent example of how to create a hierarchy that makes sense and is logical. The little tip that you gave at the beginning about setting that anchor, that repeating group, to load the information ahead of time and then reference that as you go through building out the page is like, that's like a pro move.
It's needed. I think I learned that from multiple people. Eli Beachy, I got to give him a shout out. I think he's the one who mentioned that to me the first time. And it was very eye-opening. Like one of the big things that the best part about Bubble is it's so extendable and so customizable that you could literally do anything. But you do have to, unlike other tools, you got to just make sure that you're just decreasing your load time as much as possible. And I think that one tip, honestly, decreased our page load speed by a ton.
And whenever I'm talking to people about Bubble and I'm telling them how to think about what they're doing, is I always say you always got to tell it what to expect.
Hmm.
And the more you think about that, the more you think, well, what am I trying to do here? And what should I tell Bubble to expect? What should I tell this group to expect? What should I tell the cell to expect? The easier time you're going to have building out that logic and increasing your performance.
Yeah.
Because anytime you try and surprise your page and you try and surprise this group with something that you haven't already accounted for, it's going to struggle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly.
you do a great job of organizing and really laying the groundwork for what ends up being a complex but beautifully executed example of comments and threads.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great.
like if we're talking about like UI tips, I think there's one other quick thing that I could mention that. So KP from Twitter and I are running no code camp sessions where we're talking. Actually, we've dove into Bubble quite a bit. And one of the big UI tips that we've found that people are struggling with is like width page responsiveness, page width responsiveness. And we do. I'm going to show everybody this real quick.
Yeah, so just to give everyone a heads up, on the left side, you have the UI builder, and then you have a tab for responsive, which is for your smaller screens and what's going to be displayed on a smaller screen.
Yeah, and so we, other than just like hiding and showing certain groups based on whether it's desktop or mobile, the one big tip as far as like a page content that we've been giving out is our inner and outer content groups. So we generally, when we create a page in Bubble, we'll actually create an outer group and then we'll create an inner content group. The inner content group is like, normally that'll be like your max page width is like, or max content width is maybe like 1200. You'll notice that on like sites like Product Hunt and those types of like center column sites. And so a big tip is like to put everything that you want with whatever its max page width. So like, here's our 1040 pixel max width inner content group. And then we've also got our outer group, which is, actually, let me go to our post page. That's a little better. But you'll notice that there is the collapse margins when hidden option in the responsive editor. And so on mobile, we actually have this collapse when container width is less than 1100. Honestly, this is like the number one trick to make your Bubble apps responsive, so that when people get down to under 1100, you'll notice here we're at 1090. It then takes that inner group and expands it to the outer group. And then you suddenly have an app that is mobile responsive on the page. And I think that's like the number one tip. Again, I'm just going to show that on the screen. It's this collapse margins when container width is 1100. So just make sure that, and that's on the inner group. So make sure that inner group has that. And then the outer group just set to like maybe 20 pixels away from the edge, and then, or however much on mobile you want it to be from the edge. And then all your content will stay in that realm.
And so all this is in the property editor when you click on the different elements, the outer and the inner groups that you've made.
Yeah. So, and normally I'll just name it like that. Like you'll just name it inner page content group and outer page content group.
Which I also recommend people do. You really get lost when you start leaving the standard titles on your groups. Like name your groups, take a little time, organize your thinking, have a little fun with it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's very helpful both for you and anyone else you bring on board to help you build it out as time goes on. So this has been fantastic. Thank you for letting us poke around and look under the hood.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to ask you, I guess, a couple more questions about Nucode and where you see it going before I let you go. The old question I have for a lot of people, especially people like you who've been in it for a little while now.
Yeah.
What was the biggest misconception you had, and how did you discover the answer?
Yeah. So honestly, I think the biggest misconception I had was that you still needed any type of coding experience to actually build something worthwhile. I think a lot of people just get stuck on the idea phase, especially just everyday people that don't have a tech background or any type of like tech, like SaaS background at all, or utilizing any type of apps really. I think the biggest misconception definitely is like, you don't need any coding experience. I've had the question a lot, like, okay, but you know a little bit of HTML or CSS or whatever, and I do not. Like, I don't know a lick of code. And we've built the entire Nucode site, including challenges, a meetup.com clone into it. We've built an entire forum into it, all based on just building the logic behind the app, which everybody should know how to create a clean process for things. And that's literally just creating the back-end workflows. And so I think that's it. Like, you don't need to know any code to be able to build something without code.
Great, yeah. And we will be posting our events for most of the future. I think
all gotta get them up
on there too. So if anyone's looking to join us, definitely check those out. And then my final question is, this is a chance for you to also maybe dispel some misconceptions about your business. So what would you like to say to your users, to people who are coming on your platform, to the new people that I send to you every day? What would you like them to know as soon as they join?
Yeah.
Maybe people are struggling to understand now.
Yeah, for sure. And after I say this, I'm just going to have to put it up on our pinned posts, I think, on the forum to let them know what's next. I think it's just that Nucode is a stepping stone, just like any other community, that is like a maker community where the goal is to help you build something significant and worthwhile. So Nucode is a stepping stone, and I hope people join Nucode, learn something new every day. I hope they obviously come back and visit us every day, but I hope they learn something new. I hope they stay active. They go on to create something amazing and kind of tear down some of those walls and some of those beliefs that they previously had about building something without code, and just kind of like do whatever they can to get a product out that helps people and makes the world a little bit better.
I couldn't agree more. Ship, people. Ship more projects.
Just ship it.
Yes, Nucode is here to help. All right, well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on, and this has been fantastic. I love getting a peek under the hood, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Eric, for having me, man.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. Be sure to rate us wherever you listen to us. Find me on Twitter at EricIsRani, and send me your no-code hustle. There's nothing I love more than seeing you all tear down the barriers between real problems and tech-enabled solutions, all without code.